Hi everyone. Welcome to this market webinar in preparation for Screen Forever. Very exciting, coming up soon. I'm Alice Redman. I am the editor of Broadcast Intelligence, which is a website database that you all get free access to with your Screen Forever ticket. So we're going to talk about that a bit at the end. So stick around for that. Um, but yeah, I'll give you some more info then. But more importantly, today I am joined by Natalie Vinet, SVP of Global Distribution at Boat Rocker. Just a note before we do kick off, the Q&A box is open, so please feel free to make use of Natalie's amazing insight and ask any questions that you have. So yeah, let's kick off. And maybe Natalie, just start by telling us a bit about your role, what you do at Boat Rocker, and what you oversee.
Well, I've been at Boat Rocker for, I would say, about 8 years. I've worked mainly in unscripted in my career. I'm currently leading the development and pre-selling of Boat Rocker's original unscripted slate. And I also oversee all unscripted sales and acquisitions of all the unscripted content we have in our catalog. I do sort of have like focus on Canada, the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand in terms of sales. Um, and I love what I do. And yeah, that gives you a bit who I am.
Amazing. I just want to dig in because you said about Boat Rocker's original. So you kind of got green
So
lighting
we
the
actually
ideas. Is
just
that
started, like this is a new initiative. We've always been very active in production, but
mm,
we've done more lately on the scripted side and the kids and family side. And so we've just set up kind of a new division, which I'm heading. And it's like we're developing some of our own original unscripted IP. And I'm taking it to market. And a lot of it, like we could do a pre-sale and then finance the rest ourselves. So um, we're looking for
amazing?
business. And also we have a wide catalog of, finished content that we sell. That is, a lot of it is third-party producers that we deal with.
Mm. And is there kind of sorry, I'm going down a bit of a tangent on this, but it's quite interesting. Is there a key difference between something that you'd look to maybe acquire versus something that you'd look to be kind of in at ground level from the start in terms of your
Um,
tone?
Well, I guess you know what? I find that generally like sometimes there's people that come to us and they've managed to get really far down the road at producing something, whether they've had kind of like a bit more creative ways of producing it. Um, so we come in and it's like, oh, look, we can jump on board on this opportunity, versus obviously other times you're just constantly getting feedback from the marketplace going to events and you're like, oh, like maybe we need to look into this or this space. So the nice thing is that we have a lot of feedback from the marketplace all the time, just not just myself, but we have a whole distribution team, like sales executives that are always traveling the world, so going to events, and we really have like a good sort of idea of what may resonate with international audiences.
Mm. And what kind of thing are you seeing at the moment that is working well internationally and selling well internationally?
Um, I guess like, maybe I can just sort of talk like a bit of like trends.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I think that right now there's a definitely more of a trend for shorter running series. Like there used to be like, just it seemed that volume was always very important. But now with the market constantly changing and streaming services, becoming more like the go-to place for people to like view content. Instead of, let's say, a series being, before you would like, start like minimum like 10 episodes. Now, like you'll see a lot more people asking for a bit of lower volume, starting like 3 to 6 episodes, just because you have there's like more stickiness, in terms of viewing that. Then there's genres that always work, like crime is always in demand, like history is always in demand. Um, but at the same time, like it's just that again, like it's such a market that's constantly changing and evolving that you can never think like, oh, like we're just going to focus on this. Like you kind of have to be open to lots of content of different
Mm.
genres.
And in terms of kind of the state of the market at the minute, it feels like we've, had, mentioned this the other day, we've had like a good few years of where we had like COVID and then the streaming bubble kind of
Yeah.
burst. And then it was like distribution is back. Is it not back? How are we doing here? And then no one's got any money. What it feels like it's just been a lot going on. From your point of view, is it still doom and gloom? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? How's that kind of looking for you?
Well, it's always keeping us on our toes. You have to be ready to change all the time. There's definitely been some challenges in the market, like also just you look at big mergers and acquisitions, like as a result, it's sort of shrinking the playing field.
Mm.
There's like fewer deeper pocket clients that you can go to or count on in terms of like a commission. Um, and it's a bit more of an erratic ordering pattern. Like again, like there was a time where you just knew that series were this, like this was the amount of episodes in it, and it was very kind of there's a formula, and formulas are gone. Now, like it's just everything is a lot more fluid, and so it makes it interesting. There's also, and as much as there's big mergers, there's also a lot of new players emerging and every day, and they're hungry for content. And so there's more opportunities also for just like finding creative financing models. Um, so with that, I mean, we're very excited about the future at Boat Rocker Studios. And just like I mentioned, like, we're sort of constantly growing and evolving in new directions. Um, we've also returned to operating as a privately owned company. For a while, like Boat Rocker was a publicly traded company, and now Boat Rocker Studios is back at being privately owned, which allows us to be much more flexible and quick um, at executing any of our priorities. So it's good times.
Yeah. And location wise, I'm in the UK, you're in Canada, we're gonna both be in Australia soon. And I just think at the moment I've just noticed so much that there's this kind of natural synergy between Canada, Australia, and the UK in terms of producers seem to really want to work together. And I think a part of that is also,
Hmm.
the US has been a bit trickier to kind of get a bit of extra green light money and a bit of financing out of. I mean, are you seeing, I guess I'm also interested in, are you seeing similar in these opportunities?
Definitely. I mean, just based in Canada, like historically, the US has been, someone like a pretty like natural partner to go to. Um, and now it's like we're having to look a bit wider. So we're like actually sort of going more to the UK to like look for some of our pre-sales. And we've been very successful at it. And also one of the reasons like Boat Rocker Studio is really excited to be going to Screen Forever, to sort of work more closely with Australians. So yeah, it's changing. And I would say one of the big changes, and that's like it's a bit everywhere. It's in the US, it's in the UK, is well, it seems that there's less money in commissioning. And then
Mm.
there's opportunities to work on like what we like to refer to as like enhanced acquisitions or larger or like pre-sales or whatever, where it's like it allows like the client, whether it's a broadcaster or a streamer, to maybe give a bit less than what they would have invested in as a full commission, but still allows them like to have some involvement in the projects. So that's very much something that we focus on. And luckily, here, like at Boat Rocker Studios, we have the ability to come in and fill the gap on a lot of the financing when needed.
Yeah. And so you're coming to Screen Forever. Be good to know for all the producers listening, kind of what are you looking for and who are you looking to meet while you're here?
Okay. I'm just looking through. I've got like I prepared myself well for this. Um, it's like, what am I looking for? It's often easy to talk about what I'm not looking, what I like, what I don't
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I mean, that's
So,
just as helpful.
yeah. So, for example, I like, like I don't really look for formats. I don't really look for blue chip, dating or big studio competitions.
Mm,
I think, there's other people that do that really well. And I'm I'm happy to hear about any like strong ideas in different spaces. It could be anything from history to engineering, adventure, travel, survival, tough jobs, unexplained phenomena. It could be food, motoring, prospecting, shocking, sort of newsworthy stories. Like, just like there's so much to explore.
yeah. Well, sounds exciting. Um,
Hmm.
and in terms of, obviously you've got Boat Rock Originals and also acquisitions. Are you what's your ideal? Is there no ideal in terms of when a project comes to you?
Um, I mean, it can come to us early. I would say like often there's ways like let's say we're working with an established producer that we've known for a long time, or like let's say I want to say like, producer of record or that has a lot of experience. Um, we, we may need neck less, but we generally love like what things that are always important, regardless of who it's with, is like having a strong deck, with great visual and a clear and engaging like show description so that when I read it, like I want to watch it. I want to feel what I'm gonna see, with like, samples of stories that are going to be featured or like sort of episodic listing. And also just like how one episode is broken down. Like I want to sort of see a bit of a beat by beat of what an hour or a half hour episode will look like.
Yeah,
And
makes sense.
if I can get a sizzle, even better. Um, but that's not always available. But so
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, great. And is there what are your kind of minimum territory rights that you're looking for when you're kind of making a deal?
Um, So when we're looking at the world, um, if our like the larger our investment, the more territories we want. And just from a distribution standpoint, where you're looking at like your investment and your recoupment strategy, they are like some key territories that like are like most important in terms of recouping. And those would be the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, Germany. Those would be the top five. Like
Yeah,
this is overall, it's generally where we get the most money.
yeah.
So, if something is gone, we would want it to be like that. Maybe one of those is gone, but
Mm,
not all, like, or two. Obviously let's say like the US is more money than Australia, but Australia is always important because I would say that historically, like we've always done very well in Australia, like it's very consistent. So there's also value in consistency. In terms of buying patterns, I would say the same for us is similar in like in Germany, um, in Canada. Like the hardest ones are the UK and the US, but we do manage. I guess they're harder. They're just like it's maybe more work, you know.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
they're very mature markets. They also have very so they produce a lot of content themselves, so um, it's like we have to work hard to get those deals, but we get them. So
Yeah, it all works out in the end,
it works out in
definitely.
the end.
Yeah. And because what's quite interesting about kind of rights and thinking about, pitching a show to a distributor is there's kind of this conflict between, you've got your home commissioner who, and I think a lot of commissioners have really lent into local programming recently. Like that's been the big thing. It has to be really well suited for the market you're in. Say if you're pitching in Canada, it's got to be very Canadian, the UK very UK in tone, etc., etc. And that's kind of the main concern for the lead commissioner who's arguably maybe putting in most of the money. But obviously, there's this need to have something that will sell well internationally, and that might be at
Mhm.
odds with what the Home Commissioner is kind of looking for. Do you do you find it's easy to kind of get that balance between local and
Yeah.
international? Or
Well, I mean, this is it's a really interesting like sort of point that you bring in question. And I would say that when I look, I find that generally in any like sort of given country, you would have and I think like there's a lot of similarities to the Australian market and the Canadian market in terms of size um, and just the way we operate. So you might have you might have producers locally that seem to be very good at producing for the local market. And
Mm,
often those will be, there's a lot of like, let's say 1 hour stories um, that are like specialist documentaries, single hours, and those are very like culturally relevant to the local audiences. And also there are producers, locally that are very good at producing like these large, big floor shiny formats that would go to a lot of the terrestrial broadcasters. Like that's still how they get a lot of their audiences, like whether it's like a MasterChef Canada or MasterChef Australia or like, big. And that's a producer. And those I look like their producers are very that sort of build their business on producing for local markets. And then you have some that are looking sort of more broadly and then they go and that might be that it's just things that they may cost more money to produce or they're just thinking like you're going into more volume. It's not necessarily a format, and like let's say World War II is popular everywhere or in a lot of the world. So I think you have producers that have like the sort of the more global market in mind when they're producing. And so obviously that's what we focus on. We focus on
yeah,
finding those producers that sort of have like a view to the world, a more global view. So
definitely.
it can still be relevant to the territory. Like like there's a lot of let's say it's a lobster fishing show in Australia. Like, you know what? There's like lobster fishing happens other places in the world, and you can sort of make that travel, you know?
Yeah, makes complete sense. We've got a question in the Q&A, and please do send any more in that you have. And it's about my favorite topic, which is crime, because I just really want to know if crime is ever not going to be in demand, because I just don't think it'll ever slow down. So Ingrid has asked, why do you think crime is always in such demand? And is there any room for shows with the positive spin that look the light?
Yeah, I mean, crime is always in demand. I think I find it, it's a bit of it's a bit of a mystery to me, like why it just never seems to go down. Um, but I would say that crime, I guess, just on the crime side, it is. I think there are some changes. There are channels which are just geared at crime, and those crime channels, they're looking for volume. It's like give me like, my neighbor's a murderer, like just like go for it for multiple seasons. Then there is always room. What I prefer, and just for us at Bowwalker, when we look at crime, we don't, we're looking more for things that would be short, maybe crime adjacent. It could be a bloodless crime. And like that's sort of where I think, and those also have, I think they can have a longer shelf life and more repeat sort of sales. And there is room for programming that is not crime, you know. I would say, and especially like in the world that we are living in now, there's a lot of political uncertainty. There's, yeah, it's a difficult time politically, and I think then people are looking for more escapism, and then also just in terms of whether it's like streamers or broadcasters, um, the closer they are to like conflicts, the more they're looking for like kind of a more positive outlook.
The
So
room for crime and nice things as well.
I think so. The nice thing is like, it's maybe harder, but there is room for it because I think sometimes like, you can't just show, you want to be able to have a grid that has a title that is not going to read, that's going to read positive.
Hmm. Okay, we haven't had any more questions, so I'm gonna ask my final question, which is kind of, what do you like to see? Say I'm coming to meet you. We're gonna sit down, have a cup of coffee at Screen Forever. What would you like to see? And maybe even what's your dream pitch to come through the door at the moment? What's the dream scenario?
Oh my God, that's a really tough question to answer. Well, first of all, I want to see somebody who's passionate about what they are presenting. Um, and I don't know, I just want to see something that's like fresh and original and a willingness to work in different ways, like be creative and how like a project will come together, you
Mm.
know? Um, just for like, not that long ago, I was very pleasantly surprised by someone who came to us and they had a show that was pretty much like fully financed and it was done like in a very creative way, but also like it looked so premium. And that was like such a pleasant surprise to see like, wow, like, there are people find ways of getting things done. But also like we are looking for ways to work with people and we want to be able to sort of work together and maybe create original IP together so that we can so that Boat Rocker Studios can retain some IP. That's a priority for us. And
It sounds
I'd be excited to meet somebody who just, I show them my catalog and they want to like sort of do deals with me. I like to make deals.
someone who just sits down and buys the whole catalog. That's the actual dream.
That would be the dream, or
Yeah.
that looks at our original slate and they're like, yes, we want to invest in like these two shows.
Mm. It's really exciting as well because I think, from this conversation, there's just so many ways to work with you and with Boat Rocker Studios on kind of almost every side.
There is, yeah, yeah, there is. There's lots of opportunities, and we are really sort of it's still like early in the year, and we want to find we're actively looking for money for sorry, not for money, but for content. And we have some money to put towards it. That's how I should say it.
Amazing. Okay, I think that's if there's no more questions, that is probably a great place to wrap that up. So thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you. And I look forward to meeting in person in
Yeah, me
Australia.
too.
All right.
Okay. Um, cool. So now, I don't know who on this call was here on Tuesday, but now I'm going to take you through broadcast intelligence and what you do. Kristen's here to give me an intro.
Hi. Um, so Yeah, one thing we wanted to just talk through with everyone is that we've partnered with uh, Broadcast Intel for Screen Forever, which gives everyone free access until the end of Screen Forever. And the reason that we did that is because if you're unfamiliar with this tool, it's incredibly valuable. With my producer hat on, the way we of course, when we sit down, we've got a new project, the way we look then go is, okay, what's my strategy here? Who am I going to partner with? Who's looking for projects like these? Who's done projects at this scale or, in this genre? Who are the real powerhouses in that area? Who are my potential partners? Um, and what regions are they in? All that information is incredibly valuable in putting together your strategy for how the hell am I going to finance this thing. So we wanted to talk through with everyone how to use the tool, so that it was easy to step into and doesn't feel overwhelming. I think using new technology when you first get into it can feel a bit like what. So we thought it'd be really valuable to get the Alice to show us how to actually really get the best out of it, and how to make it work for us. So where we sort of started, Alice, was around how to, if you're looking at your project and you're like, okay, which commissioners are looking for projects in this space? Where do we start?
Yeah. So I pressed to share my screen a little bit too early there, but it's fine. Sneak peek. So yeah, this is Broadcast Intelligence. So we are a journalistically led database and we cover the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, and also internationally working co-producers. So this is our homepage. And we our main kind of feature is definitely the commissioner side of things. So I show you what a commissioner profile looks like. We're going to do Daisy Lilly, who is the director of Unscripted at Netflix UK, who had an update the other day because Netflix UK announced it's moving into live programming. So, as you can see, this is a commissioner profile. We have details on job title, the channel, the genres they work in, where the commission is based. If we have an email for them, we show you their contact details, their direct email. And then this is the kind of real actual meat of a profile, which is, I'm going to zoom in actually, because I think I'm a bit zoomed out, which is the pitch me section. So, like I said, we're journalistically led. We're part of Broadcast, the international trade magazine. So me and I have a team of three. We kind of spend all our days basically speaking to commissioners, interviewing them, asking them about their strategy, speaking to the press teams. Anywhere that commissioning conversations are being had, we kind of aim to be to give our members as much information as possible so they know who to pitch to, how to pitch to them, what they're looking for, what they're not looking for, and give kind of a real overview of what commissioners are wanting. So yeah, this is the main kind of pitch outlines. So it tells you, there's a interest in noisy social experiment reality plays and broad entertainment formats at Netflix. We also have a little bit about looking for and not looking for, and I'll take you through these in a minute once I've gone through the whole profile.
You mentioned that she just had she just had an update in the last week. So you're like, it's quite up to date, the information that's on here. It's your updating
Yeah,
regularly.
so we have an update schedule of around every commissioner is updated at least once a year. Obviously, it's very different from a scripted commissioner to a non-scripted. I'd say, non-scripted, we're doing, remits are changing a little bit quicker, things are getting made quicker than scripted. Scripted commissioners tend to have, maybe a yearly update because you've got to write the scripts and drama takes a much longer time. And then non-scripted can be anything from a line here or there when there's a certain brief out, or it's a whole update every couple of months, and that's all done pretty much in working with the commissioner to get that across as well. Um, so yeah, so this is Daisy's profile, and again, the really a really good bit of information is her recent commissions, so we can see what essentially happened. I think this was on Tuesday this week, or maybe even Monday. Is Netflix said UK's moving into live, and you can see, bam, she's commissioned Harry Styles' One Night in Manchester, which is a live show. I think coming out on Sunday for his new album. And this is what a program page looks like. So we list kind of, what the show's about, the channel it's on, when it was commissioned. We've got the length, the TX date, and then also some, genres. So some music, pop music, and then obviously who commissioned it and just some similar shows. But what's really great as well is that you can click on the production company and then you'll be able to it'll take you through to see what Full Well Entertainment have what's been greenlit for them recently. So you can see kind of the range of companies they work for and work with, the range of programs on their slate, and that's really kind of exciting when you're looking to kind of find producers who are maybe making similar stuff, who have been working with broadcasters you might want to work with. It's really good for that kind of co-production angle. And across the across the site, nearly all the tags are clickable. So, for example, if I'm in this program for next gen chefs and I want to see more food, more cooking programming, I can click that and see some recently greenlit cooking programs that we've tagged as cooking that kind of show the breadth of that. So, for instance, there's Closing Time, which is a drama, but it follows a Mo who is a gifted undocumented migrant working in his uncle's kebab shop. So that's why that's been tagged cooking. You can see again, take it through who's commissioned it. It's Paul Testar at Channel 5. Sorry, it's now called 5, not Channel 5 anymore. But and then that takes you through to his profile. Then if you're clicking through maybe from a commissioner profile, you can try Thriller maybe, and then that will take you to all of the commissioners that we've tagged their profiles. They're looking for thriller series. You can also use these filters here, which is really good just to see, take it to Australia. You can see which Australian commissioners are looking for thrillers. And yeah, it's just quite an intuitive tool. You can bounce around kind of looking at different things and just getting the most out of and the most information, I think, out of that. And obviously it's quite a huge site. We have if I clear all the filters, we have 677 commissioners listed. But as part of the subscription, me and my team, each of us specializes in a different area of the market. You can always get in contact with us. We'll be happy to it's one of my favorite things when someone's like, this is a pitch I'm working on, where do you think I should take it? Because I've been at Broadcast Intelligence now for I want to say 8 years, and so I've absorbed so many commissioning remits in my brain that I'm like, oh yeah, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? So that's something that's really fun for me to do. So I'm always happy to hear, what people are working on and make some suggestions. We also started to expand to, include the full package. So we also list distributors. So there's a range on here. We spoke to Pilar from DCD Rights on Wednesday. God, getting all my days confused this week. So you can see there's a profile here for DCD. It works a little bit differently to the commissioner profile. So your distributor profile is a kind of company overview. Got the key contacts here. That's the acquisitions team and a bit about their strategy, as well as those same tags, and a bit about what's in their catalogue. And lastly, but not least, to kind of finish us up is our events page. And again, it's like we've planned this. Screen Forever is there because that's the next event me and the team will be attending. But we also do regular webinars. And what these kind of consist of is me or a member of my team speaking to a commissioner or a distributor or a group of commissioners and a group of distributors, asking what they want, what they're looking for. And then we provide one-to-one meetings with those commissioners and distributors afterwards so that producers can get a bit of face time. And that's really great for kind of, saying, people have taken those from, 15 minutes to say hi and make a good introduction to 15 minutes to pitch a full series. And if you are on the site, you can go and watch Commissioning Conversations Live, Sky History and Redeeming Features, because that was me chatting to our subscribers, Nate from Redeeming Features, and the VP of Programming at Hearst Networks, Dan Corn, about how their broadcast intelligence one-to-one meeting went from 15 minutes in a quick chat to a string of successful commissions for Sky History. So
that's quite incredible.
Yeah, it's it's nice to see it's all worked
nice
out.
Little perk of membership.
Yeah. But yeah, if anyone is interested and you've got any more questions or anything like that, feel free to email me. My email is alice.redman@broadcastnow.co.uk, and I can help you out, and like I said, more than happy to chat about ideas and pitching and things like that. And yeah, that's broadcast intelligence in a nutshell.
Amazing. It's a great talk. Thank you. Really appreciate
thank
it.
you. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for listening.
All right, well, shall we wind it up?
Yep, I'm ready for bed because it is 11:15 here.
Oh, sheesh. All right,
Yeah.
we'll get on with the day then.
Yeah.
Thank
That time
you.
difference.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.